So, we're talking about A Christmas Carol, and we're starting with the favorite I believe is the Trekkies because it has Patrick Stewart. Welcome to my channel, KC, that's me, Carrie Chug the Sledge Storyteller, and I love talking about the storytelling process as an art form, its many mediums, and its history, and I love to talk about Christmas and its stories. If you like this video, please click like. If you like this channel, please click subscribe, and while you're at it, please click that notification button. Thank you. Now, there are many iterations of A Christmas Carol that I like enough to make time for during the Christmas season. They each have their own standout factors that make them enjoyable, if not magical. So, starting now and each subsequent weekend until the last one before Christmas, I'll cover a shared favorite between me and the masses. But here we are, 1999. The cable network TNT joined Hallmark Entertainment to give this version with a not quite yet Charles Xavier, Patrick Stewart, as the hard-hearted miser Ebenezer Scrooge. And as we'll continue in the remaining reviews, I'll group this into well-known categories. So, Patrick Stewart's Scrooge, he's as cold as ice, and a big departure from other depictions that occasionally exude charm in Scrooge's grumpiness. And it feels like it's aiming more for accuracy to the novella that way. There can be a noticeable contrast when Scrooge finally cracks a lifelong suppressed laugh that Stewart hams up to the max and to much delight. I still prefer Scrooge to have that grumpy charm, but Stewart's cold demeanor is a good change of flavor when it comes to enjoying the variety of versions of A Christmas Carol that are out there. So, in this case, Jacob Marley, he's soft-spoken, very much in anguish, and you can totally sense his regret. And the rendition of the bit where the jaw drops, I don't think that was done well. I think it was a little too on the nose, but I do like the depiction of the condemned rich ghost besides, mainly because of one bit where an aristocrat ghost, he descends in a futile attempt at helping a homeless mother and child, and that's all else we see that are going on, whereas the other ghosts, they're just working, rounding in the flight there. So here we have Richard E. Grant as Bob Cratchit, and he seems to be burdened with the weight of the world while working, but the love he experiences with his family and the happiness he shows from their support, it works wonderfully. And Mrs. Cratchit is ably played as one who also makes the most of her circumstances and shows as much positivity as she possibly can. Tiny Tim, he is convincingly played, only it's for the relatively limited amount of footage that we get from him, and it does work well for him to sing his solo of Silent Night before we see a montage of various people singing in other parts of the world. So the much lauded stage and screen actor Joel Grey, the costume is a little over the top for me, and I don't quite understand why they chose to have the scene where Scrooge's sister Fran, not the original Fan, comes to pick him up from school to go back home. Why they're so young here. I think it works better when they're adults and when he's matured enough. But then they go directly to his days apprenticing at Fezziwig's. But it's a nice touch at that Christmas party scene to show Scrooge discreetly enjoying the dance with his foot movement as he watches the younger self having a good time. Also, it's very emotional when the older Scrooge futilely shouts out to his younger self to not concede to Belle's leaving him. The actor portraying the ghost of Christmas Present is more than competent. We see Scrooge even more visibly start to crack, and moving away that resolution of being so grouchy and cold and hard. But the movie follows the book aging process of the ghost as the day goes by. The ignorance and want sequence, it feels a little forced. Fred Hollywood's Christmas Party is well played, and it fits my expectation for Fred's expressing his hope that his miserly uncle will one day change his ways, especially for how much his mother loved him. Here's where I'm the most mixed. While the ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, his arrival is so initially spectral, then suddenly we see a normal flesh-toned hand coming out. It completely baffles me. But the future segment does feature a scene rarely used in movie adaptations, where after Scrooge's request to see an emotional reaction to the mystery man's death, he's brought to overhear a young couple's conversation where they are both relieved over their creditor's death. The scene with old Joe and the fencers of old Scrooge's possessions, it works out just fine. The scene where the Cratchits mourn Tiny Tim has just the right emotions and somber tone. Richard E. Grant is effective as he was in the scene of joy in the dinner. Stewart does an awesome job as Scrooge pleading for his life upon seeing his tombstone, but then there's that final sequence where Scrooge's grave breaks open and he falls on his own corpse before falling into an abyss. Overplayed and cartoony. Patrick Stewart's scenes post-redemption, they do work. I do enjoy them quite a bit. They're not my favorite, but a very strong part of the movie. Overall, the pacing is fine in the usual 90-ish minute runtime. That's the usual runtime for A Christmas Carol, a movie. It's darker than a lot of versions with such scenes as the initial funeral procession, and the movie is colored with a muted tone to accentuate Scrooge's harsh nature and the wide rippling effect as it has to those around him. And I can't help but see the irony in the fact that Hallmark was involved in getting it out. Of course, during this same time, it seems like Hallmark was trying to expand on their genres. I mean, that same year, they aired their own version of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And while it's nowhere near as dark as the 2019 Christmas Carol miniseries with Guy Pearce in the lead role, those who made this adaptation wanted us to see a Scrooge who seemed too far gone in bitterness and apathy, and explores his descent into that. It's the version that gets my first review because it's the least of my chosen four here, mainly because of my issues with the yet to come segment, but they're not so bad that they wreck the whole thing. Stewart plays a hard and bitter Scrooge in pure brilliance. Richard E. Grant is believable as it gets as Bob Cratchit. Bernard Lloyd is a strong Marley's ghost. Joel Grey plays a strong Ghost of Christmas Past, and Desmond Barcret is a solid Ghost of Christmas Present. But yeah, I do make sure that I make time for this version during the Christmas season. That's my take on the 1999 A Christmas Carol. Agree, disagree, something I left out? Please let me know in the comment section. The link to Order Sledge number 1, 2, and 3, the comic miniseries, it's in the link below, available in both digital and paper format. Please give it a look and give it an order. But let's all look for civility amid all the bad news out there about social and political strife. Let's not hate, and let's find friends wherever we may go. Everyone be safe, and God bless us, everyone.